how good is AI going to be really?
And my intuition has been that it's like an asymptote, right? Where it just like gets a little better, but it hasn't yet. It's like kept making these jumps. And so I'm really excited. I'm a little bit scared. My intuition is that it still does like kind of hit a wall at some point, or at least slow down a lot, because I don't think the universe works in exponentials. I think it works in S shapes where it like goes up for a while and comes over. I just don't think the universe is that simple that we've just figured everything out and then we're going to have this crazy super intelligence in like 5 or 10 years. My view is that it keeps getting a little bit better and that it's good enough to like raise productivity a lot. And it's a very good kind of happy medium. But, you know, a lot of my smartest friends think we're kind of birthing the Messiah basically. And it's like this religion for them. And that's
really
fascinating and scary.
Do they speak in that language, or you just get the vibe?
Some of them speak in that language. Most of them don't use that term because they're secular, right? But for me, it's messianic in the way they do speak about it. Like that would be the correct adjective to describe how they're speaking about what's coming in the next 10 years. And a few of them use it, most of them don't. But again, this is not my view. I think it's just this majorly important productivity wave, but that doesn't actually completely like, you know, create a God that's 1,000 times smarter than us. But there are some people who think that we're going to get something like that. And if we do, then we're living at the end of times. But that's like it's what it is. I don't think that's the case.
Wow, crazy. I want to talk about courage. So you've started a university. It seems the University of Austin. It seems partly out of a sense of the value system of education has become warped. But I want to look at Elon Musk through that lens, somebody who you've said has put his own life at risk, that he obviously didn't need to do any of this stuff for money, but he's made himself wildly unpopular with a certain part of the world. And that's literally become both very costly and dangerous for him. When you think of him through the lens of courage, what is courage and why does he exemplify it in your mind?
Elon is obviously motivated by what he thinks is best for our civilization. And he's trying to make our civilization be able to exist on 2 planets as a backup. He's trying to make our civilization more functional and not captured by liberal forces. I've seen a lot of really smart friends go into government with him, and he's very, very clear. He's about the moral lines, about the ethical lines. Like he cares about these things. He's you know, he cares about what's right. And yes, you're right. I mean, I think maybe we're not supposed to talk about it too much, but like people keep threatening his life, and he's had a lot of people try to do a lot of horrible things, and it's really changed and hurt his life and really tough on him. But yeah, he has courage. I mean, he has virtue, right? The idea of our classical civilization is there is the 4 classical virtues and the 3 religious virtues. And these things really should be taught, by the way, in school. I mean, we're like, I don't know what the hell we're teaching kids nowadays, but you have to have temperance and wisdom and justice and courage. And I think courage is obviously a central one. Without the rest, you don't get the rest without courage. And this is a big part of what I'm trying to do with University of Austin is we need leaders in our society, obviously, who are educated, understand STEM, understand philosophy. Obviously, I think pretty important to understand like the great debates of the West over the last 1,000 years, because there's a lot of wisdom in those debates that if you don't have those, you make really dumb mistakes today. But more than anything else, to have leaders who have the courage to speak up, who say, no, this is wrong, or I'm not going to be part of this. I'm going to speak up. It's so rare nowadays. You just have one person with courage in a situation, it can completely change everyone else. So you have a few people with courage, it goes right.
Why do you think it's so rare? What's happened?
It's just something we used to talk about a lot in the 19th century. I think there's like really important balances between masculine and feminine energy in society. I have 5 daughters and 1 son, by the way, and I have amazing daughters. And I think the world would be a very dark place without feminine energy. You probably didn't have enough feminine energy in some of the ways we were too cruel 100, 200 years ago. I would never want to return to being that cruel. But I think it's really important, like yin and yang, that it's in balance. And what's happened is maybe in reaction to the fact that we were too cruel as a civilization, I think we've thrown out a lot of masculine energy to the point where you're mostly, you talk about toxic masculinity, you talk about it as something to attack, but you don't laud it. You don't celebrate it anymore. You don't tell young men to be more manly and to look up to, Julius Caesar or Alexander the Great and being strong and fighting for their values. Like it's not lauded. So I think our culture has moved in a very feminine direction. I think young women are outperforming young men, and based on everything, as schools work towards the feminine angle. And again, you want healthy feminine energy. I'm very proud of my daughters. I think some of them are hopefully going to be great leaders, but we need in our culture a healthy mix of the masculine and the feminine. And I think we got to go back towards celebrating masculinity, celebrating strong men again, without just attacking them and without having to be apologized for being a strong man.
No, I very much agree with that. How do you, this word might be the wrong choice, but how do you indoctrinate people with that? Like, how do we really put that message out? Is it just people like you, people like Elon, they get up and they talk about it openly and they do things that are obviously courageous? Or are you going to bake this kind of thing into the University of Austin where it's like, we're bringing this back to the forefront?
Yeah, you have to be role models first and foremost. You have to have admired figures who act this way. It has to be a cultural shift. Mark Zuckerberg of all people, was talking about this as well, which even he realizes his workplace had become way too focused on the feminine values and totally discarded the masculine. If even Mark Zuckerberg's saying it, this is obviously an issue. Our schools need to have this too. I think schools have become extremely on the other side of this. And I think we need to rethink about, I think school choice is great. Let's innovate and try new different structures for schools that can celebrate, both sides of this again. I think the movies we make have to celebrate it again. I think right now, any kind of TV show and media, there's always like the goofy, embarrassing dad. There's not like a celebrated, strong, courageous, like male figure. That's not something that we look up to right now in our culture. We have to start making, things again that show that strength and model that strength in our pop culture as well as our everyday lives. So I think you are seeing a push back towards that a little bit. I think we got to take it and run with it and be proud.